There's this narrative out there that Daniel Dubois is a serial headbutter. Some people claim that he deliberately targeted Filip Hrgović with headbutts in an attempt to try and cut him. But of course, there is a big difference between a deliberate headbutt and an accidental clash of heads. Casual fans, and also fans with an agenda, will often confuse the two. Sometimes casuals just don't have the level of discernment necessary to tell the difference between a deliberate headbutt and an accidental clash of heads. Examples of deliberate headbutts would be Victor Ortiz against Floyd Mayweather, Vladimir Klitschko against Tyson Fury, and Mike Tyson, yes, Mike Tyson in the first Holyfield fight. The most blatant butt in either of the two Tyson Holyfield fights was committed by Mike Tyson on Evander Holyfield. And Tyson, in very skullduggerous fashion, after blatantly ramming his head into Holyfield's face, turned around and complained to the ref as if he'd been headbutted. When the slow-mo replay is there for all to see, and it shows Tyson clearly, deliberately headbutting Holyfield. In fact, we'll talk about the Tyson Holyfield fights because those right there are a good example of what I'm talking about, where people with very limited knowledge of boxing and boxing technique completely misconstrue what they're seeing. Some of the dumbest boxing videos I've ever seen in my life are Tyson Holyfield videos, where they're trying to show you all these supposed instances where Holyfield was headbutting Tyson. Totally ridiculous. Mike Tyson was a ferocious inside fighter. Holyfield was also a very good inside fighter, but he didn't have the kind of power and hand speed, certainly not when they fought for the first time in November 96. And so he had to employ a very strict, very tight defense when he was engaging Mike Tyson up close. One of the first things they ever teach you when you step into a boxing gym is keep your chin down. Now, if you're on the inside against a shorter guy and he's really fast and he's a really good puncher, you're going to need to keep that chin super glued to your chest. And what happens when your chin is super glued to your chest? That means that your forehead is pointing in the direction of your opponent's face. Holyfield did something which few Mike Tyson opponents had even attempted up to that point, and that is he tried to get underneath Tyson's punches. Normally opponents would move away from them, move backwards or side to side, whereas Holyfield was trying to duck underneath them, trying to stay low, because Mike Tyson wasn't used to that dynamic in the ring. But again, by staying low, there was more of a chance of Holyfield's head being in Tyson's face if Tyson didn't also keep his head low. And so what you had in that contest was two aggressive fighters on the front foot, both with their chins down, throwing big hooks. Inevitably, the heads are gonna clash. And in most cases, it's gonna be accidental. You know, I cut a guy very badly in sparring once. Big tall guy, 6'6", 6'7", much taller than me. And we were body sparring, so we didn't have headgear on. And he was punching my shoulders and my chest to bits. He was a very good mover, this guy, moving around all over the place. So I was having to jump in at certain moments and cover a lot of ground very quickly in order to land shots on him. And on one of the occasions that I jumped in, our heads clashed. But of course, me being the shorter guy, my chin is down. Even though we're body sparring, I always try and maintain the correct technique. My chin's down, I've leaped in, he's come in to grab me, and the top of my head has hit him in the eye, and he's got a terrible cut. I didn't intend to hit him with my head. The thought never crossed my mind, even for a split second, to do that. It was just one of those things. Now, what I will say is, some fighters are careless or reckless with their head. They're going in all guns blazing, chin tucked down, and they're certainly not concerned about whether their forehead hits the opponent in the face. They're not worried about that. If they do cut the opponent, well, it's a bonus, but it's not necessarily the intention. In my opinion, in my estimation, that constitutes the majority of cuts that occur in boxing. It's either an innocent clash of heads where it's 50-50, or it's a pressure fighter, an aggressive guy coming in, and he's just hell-bent on landing his punches. He's not thinking about where his head is going, and that results in cuts. This is a contact sport, folks. It's not ballet. With that being said, there are some fighters, and I think it's a minority, but there are some who have perfected the art of making deliberate headbutts look like accidental headbutts. I'm gonna say that Josh Warrington might be one of those guys. I can't say for certain, but I think he might be. The reason I can't say for certain is because he is a very aggressive fighter, throws a lot of shots, again, keeps his chin down. So inevitably, he's going to accidentally, in some instances, hit people with his head. But the timing of some of the cuts that have occurred in several of his fights was a bit suspicious to me. Another example of when, in my opinion, somebody cleverly disguised the deliberate headbutt as an accidental one was when Marcus Brown fought Artur Beterbiev. Now, as for Daniel Dubois, all these people claiming he deliberately headbutted Filip Hrgović all the way through the fight, I saw no evidence of that. I saw a shorter guy in Dubois who's a bit ragged and sloppy at times, being hyper-aggressive, charging into Filip Hrgović. He's got his chin down, Hrgović is upright. In scenarios like that, it's surprising when headbutts don't happen. Accidental ones, that is. For me to conclude that Dubois was deliberately headbutting Hrgović, I'd need to see blatant, deliberate use of the head, targeting Hrgović with the head, which I didn't see. And if he's that good at disguising them and making them look like accidental headbutts, I'd want to see a history of him doing it to other fighters. And I haven't seen that. Now you could argue, well, maybe this is a new trick that he's recently developed. Okay, well, we'll see moving forward if opponents are getting cut by him more regularly than they should be, if it was just random chance. So those are my thoughts on the matter. Give me your thoughts in the comment section below. Are you sick and tired of the mainstream mindset? Does the dogmatic conformity and pathological ignorance have you tearing your hair out in frustration? Then don't be alone. Come and join our brotherhood on Patreon. We stand as a beacon of reason against an army of insanity. You'll gain access to my weekly topical podcast, where we take more deep dives than Jacques Cousteau on an endless variety of subjects. There's also videos, interviews, live Q&As, as well as a vast back catalogue of previous episodes, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen via the Patreon app or download in high-quality MP3. Connect with myself and hundreds of other members in our Element chat group. There's no contract, no commitment, you can cancel at any time, and it's cheaper than a Mickey D's McMuffin. Just head to my Patreon page via the link below this video and select the tier called the Brotherhood of Reason. I'll see you over there.